I'm Anil Kumar, and now I'll discuss with you techniques of writing algebraic expressions, writing algebraic equations, and solving them. And to understand the whole concept, I have taken a very simple pattern into consideration. Now the question here is, write and solve equation to find the number of green squares if 28 blocks are used in the following pattern of blocks. So pattern of blocks is a very interesting topic, and it helps us to understand with the help of a game the great concept about algebraic equations and how to solve them. So we have a pattern given here. In the first pattern we have 4 red triangles and 2 green square blocks. So there are in all 6 blocks. In the second pattern we have 2 more green blocks, and then in third we further have 2 more green blocks. So what you can do here is that to understand, let's give them the figure number, and let's say n is equals to 1 here, n is equals to 2, and n is equals to 3 in this particular case. So in the pattern when we discuss, we sometimes say that is the first term, this is the second term, that is the third term in our pattern, right? It is indeed a growing pattern where the red triangles remain constant and the green squares are increasing. Now with that we can actually write down an equation. See how we write down the equation from a pattern. We have 4 fixed triangles, so that is constant. So we write 4, that is constant, right? So 4 plus something else. What is something else? That something else is the green square which is changing. Now the important thing is, how can we relate this change with the pattern number, right? So if pattern number is 1, then there are 2 green squares. If pattern number is 2, then there are 4. For pattern number 3, there are 6 green squares, correct? That means the green squares are twice the number of pattern. So I could write this as plus 2n. You get an idea, right? So with this we get what we call as an algebraic expression, and this is algebraic expression, correct? So we call this as an expression. Now I wrote expression first, but I should have written algebraic expression. So let me write algebraic here, right? So 4 plus 2n is the algebraic expression where n is the variable, right? So in this case n is variable. That changes. Do you see that? So it is changing. It changes from 1, 2, 3, it could be 4, 5, 6, any number, right? So that is how we can develop a kind of a model and write an expression for a pattern. So this is first part. Now let's look into the question once again. It says write and solve equation to find number of green squares if 28 blocks are used in the following pattern of blocks. Now the second part here we'll talk about is an equation, right? So we'll write down now an algebraic equation. So we already have an expression. To make it an equation, what do we need to do? Simply put equal to sign, correct? So that is how they are related. 4 plus 2n is our expression. Once we put equal to sign, and the question is that the total blocks are 28, and we say equals to 28, then only one value of n can satisfy this equation, and we need to find that value of n, correct? And you will notice that that value of n can help us also find the number of green blocks. How many green blocks are there? Twice n. Do you see that? So first part is to find n. Then we know which block number will give us 28 total number of blocks, right? Let's read the question once again. The question says, write and solve equation to find number of green blocks. Fine. So first part we have done, and that is we have an equation here which represents the situation. So first equation here. So this is our equation. Do you get it? So we say write an equation. So that part is done. And the second part to this is solve to find number of green squares. So we want to find number of green squares if 28 is the total blocks. Now how many green squares are there? There are 2n green squares. That is the number which we want to find, right? So we want to find what is 2n. Do you get the idea? What is 2n? Correct? So if there are 28 blocks in all, then 4 less than 28 will be 2n. So we can find our answer with inspection, correct? So what we said here is that if there are 28 blocks from this particular equation, we understand that 4 are red blocks, correct? And the rest are green blocks. So if there are 28 blocks, then the green blocks are how many? Green squares are 28 minus 4, 24. You get an idea. So we can then solve an equation, and this method of solving equation, I will say this is inspection. So we just inspected what we are trying to solve. So I should have written inspection. So we inspected and solved with the method of inspection, right? So that is the method which we applied to solve this particular question. But on the whole, what I'm trying to say here is that you got the concept of writing an expression from a pattern, and then once we know that the total number is given to us, we can find the individuals by making an equation and then solving that equation. There are different ways of solving. The method which we used here is the method of inspection. Or you can sometimes say the guesswork, right? So we guessed and check our answer. So it works. You realize that if I have to draw all the way and figure it out, then it takes a lot of time. So writing an equation and then getting the answer is a very good way and efficient way of solving such questions. I hope that helps. Thank you.